To meet her lover, my wife slipped sleeping pills into our daughter's bottle. She even added several spoonfuls of baby formula that contained ants and fed it to the child. Soon, the girl fell into a deep sleep. My wife quickly left the house to meet her assistant. However, that night I returned home earlier than expected. The ants in the bottle immediately made me suspicious. I rushed into the room and found my daughter unconscious. I took her to the hospital at once. Fortunately, her life was not in danger, but the sleeping pills could have affected her brain development. I was deeply disappointed in my wife. When I returned home, I saw her embracing the assistant. An hour later, I headed back again, thinking he had already left. But when I opened the door, the sight froze me in place. Not only was the assistant still there, he was clearly preparing for a passionate encounter. I made no sound and quietly closed the door. At that moment, I had already devised a far more terrifying plan. The next day, I called my wife and told her I was leaving for my hometown to attend a teacher's funeral. I left our daughter in the care of a neighbor and asked her to drive me to the train station. While saying goodbye, I deliberately greeted the neighbor, then quietly got out of the car to create an alibi. Avoiding surveillance cameras, I went to the assistant's apartment. After opening the door and making sure no one was inside, I collected several strands of his hair and found his dagger. Meanwhile, my wife was preparing for a date with the assistant when she suddenly froze in fear. On the wall, she saw her own explicit photos that the assistant had taken earlier. She believed he was planning to blackmail her into a divorce and angrily called him Dot at that moment. The lights suddenly went out, and in the darkness, I cut off the call. Thinking it was a power outage, she ran toward the door. I grabbed her by the neck, threw her onto the bed, and despite her resistance, she could not break free. I called the assistant so he could hear the sounds of the struggle, then hung up. Calmly, I picked up the dagger and held her by the throat until she stopped breathing. After that, I threw the assistant's hair onto the floor and wiped away my own fingerprints. Soon, the assistant arrived in a panic. I waited until he entered the apartment, and only then did I leave quietly. But my plan was not finished yet.